Good evening, campers. A very happy Friday to you all. I hope you've had yourselves a wonderful week. Give us your scores on the doors. Put your scores in the comment section below. How has your week been so far out of 10, my friends? It's Andy, of course, with another Ask Andy Anything. We've got a topic around to talk about around virtual inspections. I want to even talk about whether they are going to have a place after everything is sort of settled down and we get back to some degree of normality. I've had a conversation with a couple of people over the last sort of 24 hours about them. So I figured, if I've had a couple of people asking, we might as well have a chat. My friends, let us know if you've had any success stories over the course of the last few days. I've seen plenty of them. So make sure that you post your success stories in the comment section as well. Let's share in some of the fun. Gang, it's been a fairly significant week, I reckon. I think, well, first off, hats off to the RAIV for putting what I believe is probably the most comprehensive sort of vehicle, shall we say, to try and invoke some degree of change at the top around private inspections in Metro Melbourne. And I think that if you haven't seen it, I posted the link in the description for tonight's show. So please, click on it and share it as best as you can. Whether you're in the real estate space or whether you're associated with the real estate space, i.e. you're a broker or a conveyancer or something along those lines, or if you are a member of the public who is having issues because of restrictions or knows someone that's having restrictions. There are so many stories, like so many. So I'm really glad that we've put customers front and center and put down a decent enough amount of detail as to how we're going to make sure that we do everything nice and safely. So please check it out and share it about as well if you possibly could. That would be tremendous, because the more the merrier, and hopefully it will get noticed. If you do have any questions for tonight while I'm talking about the virtual inspections, happy to answer them on the fly. This is what tonight's Q&A, this is what every night's Q&A is all about. Make sure you put your questions either in the comment section or send me a text message to that number down the bottom of the screen there, 0451 085 998. Luke, he's an 18 out of 10. Jeepers. I don't know whether that requires some sort of narcotics to get up that high. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's not. I'm joking. But mate, that's awesome. It's so good. Share a couple of success stories if you can in the comment section. Let's share some of the wealth, shall we? Put your comments in there, guys. Let us know what you think. Let us know about your thoughts around the RAIV's campaign. Please make sure you just put whatever you can down. Lisa, 9. Today I passed the first unit of the Cert 4 I'm doing in training and assessment. Good girl. I like it. I'm thinking, I think I'm going to have to do that as well, I reckon. So good stuff. Well done to you, Lisa. Very, very well done indeed. Lukey Walker, like I said, he's an 18 out of 10. He must be bouncing off the walls, bless him. But he's doing a very, very good job actually down his way, I will say, going off all of his social media work. Now, gang, let's get straight into it. Virtual inspections, how we can do them, why we should be doing them, and will they last post-COVID? The conversation I had today with one of my auction clients, he was wondering and sort of worried, sort of not sure whether he should be listing properties up for sale now because obviously he felt that he couldn't really do much with them and he was a little bit confused. And he was sort of losing a bit of purpose, really, because he sort of came to a bit of a dead end. And really, from a mentality point of view, I can understand so many people just hitting a brick wall with it, running out of gas from a mental energy point of view. And so we had a good conversation around what he should potentially be doing with these 4 ready to list clients, and what he could actually do to sort of make it worth their while, sort of thing. And I know that virtual inspections have been getting a hell of a lot of press in PM and in the sales space, but I've got a bit of a methodology as to how you would do them well and also allow yourselves the chance to actually get some residual benefit off the back of them as well. So I wanted to quickly talk about how I would have them structured and set up and run if I were you. And then we're going to talk about why you need to do them. And it's a big, big why, because what we need to understand is for anybody that's in the marketplace that is either about to list or has listed, they're going to want to see some progress. And if you haven't listed them yet, but they are ready to list and they are seeing other agencies getting results now, and if you're not doing anything about it, then their eyes are going to start wandering off to other agencies. And you can completely understand why, because they're seeing other agents that are being more progressive, getting stuff done, even though they're in the same lockdown restrictions as what you are, right? So we really do need to show some degree of effort towards moving our clients a little bit further towards their goals that they want to achieve. How we do them, I think you do need to show a degree of professionalism, but it's really not that hard to do that. Okay. So don't worry about having everything super clean and super polished, but I think there's a bit of methodology that you could do with following in order to make sure it's professional as possible and also reflects well on you, the vendor, the home, and sets yourself up nicely for success afterwards, and making sure that you get some decent benefit off the back as well. So how you would want to do it is you want to firstly explain to your vendors that before this second lockdown had even started, no one in Melbourne really genuinely thought that they were going to get some sort of action via virtual. No one's going to be buying sight unseen. No one's going to be buying off a video. Like, that was a lot of the chat, right? Around Victoria, especially. And so a lot of vendors will have heard about that. But then having said that, a lot of them are starting to see some results coming through, right? So they're wondering how that's happening. So what I would be saying to the vendors is that before you crack on even promoting a virtual inspection, just give them a bit of a run through with respect to the technology. So run a Zoom or a Google Teams, whatever platform you like to use from a conferencing point of view. Run them through the technology, make sure they are happy, and do with all of that, and do a dry run with respect to how you would talk through the home, and so that they can follow you a lot better. So they will obviously have you on an earpiece. So make sure that you go through that with them so that you don't have any teething issues on the day of your virtual inspection, virtual walkthrough. The other thing that you need to sort of really gear them up for is hearing questions that are going to be coming from purchasers that might not be the nicest questions in the world, or they might not be, they might be, derogatory comments and things like that. So you've got to prep them from a mental point of view to accept that they're probably going to hear a couple of little things that they probably don't want to hear from buyers. Okay. So go do a bit of a dry run through. Then what you need to do from a professionalism point of view, and this is so easy to set up, you need to get yourselves organized with what's called a PNG overlay. You need to get yourself organized with a PNG overlay. Now, what that is, it's basically something that your graphic designer or a graphic designer that you know can do, so that you can get yourself a nice overlay for the broadcast, or a good backdrop for the broadcast, but also get them to set up a JPEG that fits the preview screen when you set this virtual inspection up from a promotional point of view on Facebook. So you've got a couple of options. You can either do this via Zoom and do it a lot more securely, or you can do it via Facebook Live, or something like that. Or I believe Gavel have got the option as well. But you can do it via Facebook Live, set up a JPEG so that it's presented really well. So have your branding, have sort of virtual inspection, and make sure it looks nice, okay? And then get that set up nicely. You would then look at doing a little bit of targeting in terms of buyers that you've got on your database. Hopefully you will have, and this is a little bit geeky, hopefully you will have input some of your buyers' emails into the back end of Facebook so it can do some retargeting around some of those emails. But if you haven't, you can do a geographical thing and make sure you put some boundaries on there in terms of what type of home it is. So if it's a family home, put like parents and all that sort of stuff in the back end of Facebook. If no one knows what I'm talking, if someone doesn't know what I'm talking about here with regards to the back end of Facebook, hit me up. More than happy to help out to a degree, give you a little bit of a rundown as to what the go is there. Make sure you don't just go pissing your money up the wall on Facebook, by the way, guys. There's still a lot of people that hit the blue button, do a geographical boundary around a property, and then that's it. You really are scattergunning your money there. And there's one or two people that are like apparently really like leading the social media space, and that's all they've got to say about it. You really need to make sure that you do some targeting, proper targeting, in the back end of your Facebook page. Okay. So once you've done that and you've got the JPEG set up through your graphic designer, and like I said, if anybody wants to go through this in detail themselves, again, please feel free to get in touch. You would then run a promotional post over the course of that week, say, for example. So give it a bit of a week's run, and then make sure that you either have your buyers registered to be on there. So you can even run a private group so that people need to put in their email in order to see the property, or do a Zoom so that they need to provide you with their details so that you can vet them, basically. So do all that. Get it. I would put it on a Zoom, to be perfectly honest. I wouldn't do it through Facebook Live, but I would then set a premiere. I would then make sure that you record the Zoom and then cast it out as a premiere on Facebook Live anyway. So it kind of looks like it is one anyway. So I'd do it on Zoom. Make sure you've got yourselves a nice secure line, and make sure that you've vetted the people that are coming on. When you start the broadcast on Zoom, you want to make sure, these are just general principles, guys. You want to make sure that you bookend the inspection with instructions as to how they can go about getting themselves into the action. So at the start of the thing, I would make sure that everybody's there first and foremost that's registered to come. And then I would say before you begin the tour, I would say, look, buyers, make sure that, you know, if you are interested, we have the paperwork ready to go. Get the paperwork ready to go, by the way. I'd have the paperwork ready to go. If anybody wants to see that paperwork, or if you are ready to put pen to paper after this inspection, you can get in touch with us privately and we can organize a time to get the contracts done. So make sure you've got all your paperwork in order. Get your vendors to get the Section 32 organized. This is not something that you need to be doing if you haven't got a Section 32. Because that's not going to help anyone. You won't be able to strike while the iron's hot, and it'll just become a little bit irrelevant. So make sure you can strike. Make sure you got your contracts ready. And then have the vendor stood at the front of the driveway, and then do the tour as you did in your rehearsal. Now, if it was me, I would highly encourage that unless the listing agent asks the vendor a question, the vendor doesn't answer. So if buyers are asking questions, please make sure that it's the listing agent that's answering the questions and not the vendor directly. There was a scenario on the weekend where it got really, really awkward for the vendor. She was getting peppered with questions, and I felt really sorry for her. So listing agents, you've got to sort of step up and, you know, do your job and answer a lot of these questions on behalf of your vendor. Your vendor realistically should only be like walking through the property, showing the property, opening cupboards and all that sort of stuff if that's what buyers ask for, and keeping quiet, really. They don't want to get themselves caught in the crossfire of questions. Make sure that your vendor is aware that buyers will ask to look into cupboards and look into wardrobes and all that sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, you want to encourage your buyers to look at the things that they would ideally be wanting to look at if they were there in person doing the inspection. And make sure you give them plenty of opportunities to do that. So keep mentioning it. If you want to see something else in more detail, please let us know. Post it in the comments section. So the little chat function on Zoom, for example, would be an amazing spot for that. And just keep encouraging them to ask questions. Ask them if anybody wants to see in the cupboards. Ask if anybody wants to see under the stairs if it's a 2-story, and so they can check out the storage space. Make sure that you've got the dimensions of the properties. So, you know, bedroom sizes and all that sort of stuff, because they won't be able to really get an idea of depth. They won't have the depth perception as to how big certain rooms are, particularly the bedrooms. So make sure you've got the bedroom sizes ready to go, and just keep getting them to ask questions. The really cool thing about it is, another massive why as to why these things are really, really good, is the vendor gets to hear completely unwashed feedback, questions, issues, concerns from the buyers directly. That's a good thing. That is a very, very good thing, because then they're hearing it from the horse's mouth. So it's an amazing thing to do. Now, residual benefits of doing virtual inspections, like I said right at the top, vendors will feel like you're doing something to try and help them to move forward. They won't be thinking that you're just sitting there idle with your hands down your pants because it's COVID and therefore you don't really need to be doing anything. You've got to be showing that you're actually trying to be as proactive as possible, because some of your competitors are absolutely doing that. So if you're shown to not be doing that, then that's a problem for you out the other end of this. The other cool benefit of it is that if you do a bit of a promoted Facebook targeted ad using the Facebook, virtual inspection, VIP inspection, whatever you want to call it, you can encourage people to then go to your Facebook page and be a member of your Facebook page, just so that they get first access to new properties that are coming through. It's kind of what Lisa Novak's doing, but it's something that has been available for so long. So talk about the exclusive access that you would get as a buyer should you sign up to your Facebook page as an agent. It's a really cool way of actually getting a bit more traffic to your page and therefore to your brand. I would then also invite some of your vendors onto them as well. If they're not sure about it, invite a vendor or two onto the feed as well, or a potential vendor or two onto the feed, so that they can see your professionalism. There's so many reasons why you should be doing these virtual inspections, guys. The last thing that you want to be thinking is that I can't believe if anyone's still thinking that they're never going to get anything sold if they're still in a lockdown period. I don't know I think you've been living under a Facebook rock, because there's been lots and lots of examples where it has already happened. So get off the sidelines and get in the game. Don't get lazy. You got to make sure that you give your vendors as much of a chance of success as you possibly can. Okay? Because we're seeing too many buyers that are completely happy to put pen to paper. One that I watched on the weekend had 3 offers by the end of Saturday. And they did it on at 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. And they had 3 in writing offers by Saturday night. And it was done. I think they put that onto Market Buy, and that got done on Monday, plenty above vendors' hopes. So many opportunities out there, gang. You're giving yourself a big gap between yourselves and those that are being proactive if you're not giving this stuff a go. And if it goes wrong, then who cares? The fact that you're giving it a crack's the main thing. You don't have to be perfect, but you do want to try and progress. That's what it's all about right now. Screw perfection, just have progress, but you can still do it with a degree of finesse. Just takes a bit of preparation, that's all. You can have the JPEG done, your vendors talked to, your ads set up. You can have everything done, I reckon, within the space of about 2 hours, depending on how quick your graphic designer can be. All right. And if you haven't got a graphic designer, or you don't want to buy the graphics, then go to Shutterstock or Google and get a nice, decent res image of virtual inspection, or just Google it or do something to show that you've got a better degree of professionalism. Okay. That's all you need to do. Joe uses Canva. I use InShot, as do a couple of others. Canva's the more common one, but there's all sorts of different apps. Gang, if you're not on top of any of this, if you're not sure about what Canva is or what InShot is or virtual inspections or anything like that, then you are lazy, because Google has a lot of these answers to so much stuff. You've got to start getting up to speed with some of this. It is very, very surprising to see the volume of people that are still a bit head in the sand with all of this stuff. Okay? It's no good. All right. So what I'm going to do is on my Ask Andy page, on my Ask Andy website, I'll actually do a blog with a bit of an instruction manual as to how you can best set up these virtual inspections. Then it will give you a bit something in writing that you can take away and do whatever you want with. Gang, you've got to do something. Like I said, the lad that I spoke to today, he's actually quite a driven guy, right, on the whole, but he's just got himself into a hole. All right, he's run out of juice. He's feeling guilty because he's not doing much work, and he is a bit of a workhorse, and he feels bad. So therefore, it's clouding his creativity. If you are one of those people, you need to reach out to someone pronto. Being bored can absolutely be a sign of a mental health issue. You don't have to be crying. You don't have to be upset or sad or anything like that. Just being consistently bored is 100% a factor if you're not careful. Okay? Here's another comment from Joe. Have a frequently asked question cheat sheet plus the floor plan open on the screen throughout for your reference. That's what I mentioned before about making sure that you've got your dimensions, right? You got to get your dimensions because there is no depth perception when they're doing this. When they're watching, so make sure you've got your dimensions set, and make sure you know what that equates to, especially with the bedrooms. It's generally around the bedrooms, right? So they'll want to know if it's a queen size bed that can fit in there, or a king size, or just a standard double. So make sure you're asking those questions of your vendors if you don't know what sort of bed sizes they've got. That's just a common one that you can see coming a mile off. Okay. All right, gang. That's it for me for now. If no one's got any questions, I'm going to leave you lovely people to it, and leave you to enjoy your weekend. If you have got any auctions coming up, if you are out in regional Vic, or if you are out and about all over town, all over the country, please have fun and make sure that you do well and call to the best of your abilities. If you have got inspections, if you're in regional Victoria, make them count. Make sure that they're no more than 10. And make sure that they are pre-booked in. AB's a 9.5 coming in right at the end of the show with a 9.5. Man, that's the biggest score I think I've seen you score. That's amazing, awesome. I'd love to text me, send me a text and let me know why, mate, because that's amazing to hear you had a 9.5. That's wicked. Also, I had the privilege of being on a podcast, the Philip Robertson podcast, which is predominantly around the real estate sector and finance and so on and so forth. I've had the link come through just now, so I will post it over tomorrow probably. Yeah, have a listen to it. The Philip Robertson podcast. I believe I'm episode 19, because in there I actually open up a little bit as to why I've started this coaching business and the not deficiencies, not problems that, I don't want to bag out other trainers, because at the end of the day, there's some incredible trainers kicking around. I'm just hoping that I can bring a bit of a focus towards something a little bit different. So please, when I post that, make sure you have a listen to Phil Robertson's podcast. And to Phil, thank you so much for having me on your show. Gang, I love you and leave you. You guys stay healthy, stay safe, and most importantly, stay happy. Joe's just put down there. She's got two virtual opens tomorrow. So hit her up if you want to tune in and have a watch, just so you can get a bit of understanding how she's doing them. But gang, love you all. You guys take care. You've done really, really well this week. I'm seeing a lot more positivity. So good for you all. All right. Keep it going. And if you're struggling to keep it going, give me a shout. All right, my friends. Love you all. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Australian Eastern Standard Time, with a score from around the grounds.